And a bunch of national Democrats were like, the lesson here is across the country, our candidates must be like Mamdani. Please run a Mamdani candidate for Congress in every one of these like Rust Belt states. Run them through the South. Let's see that.
I also just think that's a larger discussion about the now historic trouble that Republicans have had with this new coalition when Trump's not on the ballot. It has to be discussed. It just simply has to be discussed.
You can tell this is such a like theater kid communist revolution where like during his speech he was like, this is for all those people who come home with their hands calloused, and because like this guy's never had a real job in his life.
America's demand for energy is rising rapidly, and at a time when American families can least afford an energy shortage. But for decades, critical energy projects have been blocked, limiting our access to reliable, affordable American energy and putting America's energy dominance at risk. The solution is obvious. Overhaul the broken energy permitting process. Make it faster and simpler. Innovation, a strong workforce, abundant oil and gas. We have it all right here in the USA. Let's put America first and political agendas last. We can power our own country, create thousands of good-paying American jobs, and unleash American energy to be bigger and better than ever before. Because when America builds, America wins. Read API's plan to secure America's future at permittingreformnow.org. Paid for by the American Petroleum Institute.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please.
Keep the faith, hold the line, and own the libs.
It's time for our main event.
Good Thursday to you. Welcome back to the Ruthless Variety Program. I am Josh Holmes, along with Comfortably Smug, Michael Duncan, and John Ashbrook, left to right across your radio dial. There is good news, believe it or not. What comes to mind immediately is that the first time in a long time that nobody on this particular panel is responsible for the election results. So, silver linings, folks. Silver linings. Obviously, Tuesday didn't go as well as some had hoped, but I hope if you've been listening to the Ruthless Variety Program, we gave you a pretty good roadmap into what was about to happen, subtly, of course. I don't want to depress anybody before they cast their ballots, but some of this was very, very predictable, and we're going to get into that. There are a few things off the top that we need to talk about. Mamdani. It turns out he's surprised a few people, and that he was as crazy.
Get out of here.
As everybody has said, right? Let's start with a clip of this guy. Clip one.
But as Eugene Debs once said,
Eugene Debs, dude.
I can see the dawn of a better day for humanity.
It's insane.
For as long as we can remember, the working people of New York have been told by the wealthy and the well-connected that power does not belong in their hands.
Eugene Debs, Michael. Interesting choice.
Yeah. I mean,
President historian. I love how everyone knows Duncan's the guy who knows things.
Yeah, no.
well, I mean, Eugene Debs, like the most radical socialist you could possibly name drop.
Yeah,
It'd be like going,
wasn't he like the American Communist Party
yeah,
candidate for
right.
president?
It'd be like just as Joseph Stalin used to say.
But did
Everybody's like, what?
Huh?
Did you
No,
hear-
they'd cheer for that too.
Did you hear that crowd?
Yeah, they love
it's
it.
like it was Bob Barker saying, "A new car."
Well, I mean, it's
like
essentially the same
it's the
thing.
same thing.
Like, you know, when you're just promising people that, listen, this isn't the real world. It's a game show. We're going to make all this stuff happen. You know, people buy into that. And that's what happened last night in New York. I got to say, personally, I'm incredibly thrilled by this. Not just in the cynical way of like, yes, I think that the voters of New York City have made clear they will vote for the worst possible option again and again. Like, they voted de Blasio in, and then they reelected him. And, like, that's a city that does not want to learn any lessons. It will continue doing it. So, like, I want them to feel consequences. I think consequences are the only thing that keeps a civilization going.
It's coming.
But also, and I hope no Democrats are listening, even though I'm sure media matters and everyone is, results weren't great for Mamdani. The Democrat Party was straight up split. You know, he cleared 50% by a whisker, which means that that's an 8-1 registration town, Democrats to Republicans. So the fact that Democrats were so split that Mamdani skates by with like 50.1% or whatever. And the lesson that I saw a bunch of, like, Ben Rhodes, we're talking about a clown-ass guy who worked for Obama, and a bunch of national Democrats were like, the lesson here is across the country, our candidates must be like Mamdani. Please run a Mamdani candidate for Congress in every one of these, like, Rust Belt states. Run them through the South. Let's see that.
Wasn't it Rhodes whose nickname was Hamas?
Yeah,
in the White House.
He was super.
This is a guy who's not going to be happy until they're selling burqas in every J.C. Penney's in the country.
So one of the interesting metrics, and I want to get to more of what Mamdani said in that speech in a second, but one of the interesting metrics that I saw was a breakout of voters by education.
Yep.
Right? And the case was made that people with high school or below, or associate's
college,
degrees and things like that, anything other than a bachelor's degree and below, tried desperately to save their city.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They all voted. Cuomo, to a certain extent, Sliwa did not vote for Mamdani. And then you had like the PhDs
Yep.
who are like, and first of all, an enormous number. So like, let's say, I love the characterization of New York City is that it's always like, oh, it's all these downtrodden poors.
It never is.
And then all of a sudden you look at it, it's like 31% of the electorate has like a doctorate. It's like 31% is like what?
Like, how did the Maoist revolution come to China?
Yeah.
It wasn't the downtrodden
It wasn't.
farmers in the rural areas.
No.
It was the intellectuals at the universities. It was the young people, the zeal of those people is what drove the communist revolution, and we're seeing that here in New York.
Bingo.
And the babes.
Babes?
Women had a real tough time in this election in terms of like their
Culpability
selections.
for it. And the thing is that, like, you can tell this is such a, like, theater kid communist revolution where, like, during his speech he was like, this is for all those people who come home with their hands calloused, and because, like, this guy's never had a real job in his life.
No.
He did, like, you
Well,
know,
the people who do were like, nah, we
bingo.
don't want that.
Yeah.
The people who actually do work those warehouse jobs, I've worked a warehouse job. It sucks ass. I've got burns on my arm from this fucking spinning plastic thing. It sucks. It's a horrible job. So when I hear this kind of a kid who's just been this pampered little boy being like, I speak for those with calluses in their hands and who've worked in warehouses. No, you don't. Those people all voted for Cuomo, dude.
Yeah.
Those
it's
people
all,
have to live with the consequences of your mismanagement.
But he did provide a little glimpse into how he views his new role. Clip 2, please.
We will prove that there is no problem too large for government to solve and no concern too small for it to care about.
Awesome.
So that's the thing, right? The thing is, it's just a government answer, which is really, if you just boil it all down, let's take all of the socialist, communist, Islamic extremist, take all the brands out of it. What it's really about is a guy who thinks that the government can solve all of your problems. And if there's anything left outside of just government and government controlling how much money you have, how much rent you pay, what your groceries cost, or anything else, they just need to run that shit out of town. Because if you have a concern, well, the government is here for you. And that really like gets to the heart of the matter of what his pitch is. And my surprise was that took some people by surprise. Look at Van Jones, of all people, on CNN, clip 3.
I think the Mamdani that we saw on the campaign trail, who was a lot more calm, who was a lot warmer, who was a lot more embracing, was not present in that speech. And I think that Mamdani is the one you need to hear from tonight. There are a lot of people trying to figure out, can I get on this train with him or not? Is he going to include me? Is he going to be more of a class warrior, even in office? I think he missed a chance tonight to open up and bring more people into the tent. I think his tone was sharp. I think he was using the microphone in a way that he was almost yelling. And that's not the Mamdani that we've seen on TikTok and the great energy stuff like that. So I felt like there's a little bit of a character switch here where the warm, open, embracing guy that's close to working people was not on stage tonight, and there was some other voice on stage.
So here's the thing. Number one, you just outed yourself as not knowing what you're talking about when your job is to be an analyst. You're like, listen, I saw a couple of his TikTok videos. He seemed like a nice guy. And then he comes on stage and talks about how he's Karl Marx reborn. That's kind of tough. I mean, dude, do the basics. That guy who walked on stage, that old guy, his dad is the one who said that suicide bombers are courageous.
Yeah, he said Abraham Lincoln was Adolf Hitler.
So do your homework before you think you should be allowed to have any kind of like a platform.
Yeah.
Van Jones.
But
CNN is putting that out there of like, oh, you know what? I was hoping that this guy who's the son of a guy who supports suicide bombers and called Abraham Lincoln worse than Adolf Hitler, maybe he should have been more cuddly like when I saw him on TikTok. Get out of here.
But I think Van Jones is actually a pretty smart guy. I think he actually knows all of this, and this is just sort of like a feigned
You think so?
naivete you have to do for election night. Like you
He's
didn't
like,
know what
you
you're
should have
getting
kept
into.
the bit going just a little bit more when everybody's
You think
watching.
that's what it was?
It feels like the Donald Trump, like, I didn't hear that. You're telling me for the first time.
Yeah,
you know, like it doesn't. That doesn't seem real. I don't think it's real. And Van Jones, I think, is a smart guy, but he knows he has to play this part of how this guy is going to be this great conciliator.
So it's not stupidity, it's malice.
No,
It's
he's
malice.
disappointed that Mamdani wasn't keeping up the bit.
Yeah, you gave away the game,
Right? I mean, because it's like, to paraphrase the late, great Denny Green, they are who we thought they were.
We have to trick the people into doing communism.
Right.
You
Dude,
know.
that's great.
I mean, that's where this whole thing boils down. And listen, we're going to get into way beyond New York because honestly, I don't give a shit. And I think you did a nice job of conditioning my mind on how much of a shit that I give, which is none, to like whatever happens to New York.
They will get what they deserve and get what they voted for.
I don't care at all.
Well, I do like it for one reason, and that is it is an incredible foil for Republicans ahead of the midterms.
Dude, it's going to be a gift.
It is that.
I
I
mean,
mean, there is some education in the uncomfortability that Democratic leaders have with this entire situation. I mean, Chuck Schumer, who famously didn't endorse Mamdani, even despite the fact that he was going to win, was asked on Election Day who he voted for and walked away.
I voted, that's it.
That's
Right?
funny.
So
That's
that
funny.
uncomfortability in and of itself is funny.
Yeah.
And it's a pretty good wedge and a pretty good foil. But like, honestly, I don't give a shit.
Well, I mean, periodically we do have to go up to New York, and I think it's important that we I think it is important that we fund the moderate Italians on the ground and figure out how to
Fund the moderate. You know things are dire when you're willing to help the Italians.
Okay. Well, it's fair. But we're going to get into, look, there was a big one in New Jersey.
We're like airdropping gabagool. Rise up, my paisan.
Just saying. Feel bad for
You got to
him.
find allies where you can.
Yeah.
There's a New Jersey election, which, I mean, that may play into the same situation that we're talking about. There was a Virginia election. There was some stuff in Georgia. There was some stuff in Pennsylvania. None of it was good, if you believe in America. Like, it all was pretty bad. We're going to break all of that down here in our next segment, but I do have a big announcement to make.
Huge.
Tomorrow, the fellas are going to be at the Patriot Awards doing something that we haven't done.
No, it's actually today.
Oh, yeah, it's today.
Later today.
It's today. We're going to be doing it. So at noon Eastern, we are going to be live on our Ruthless page for a live show. We haven't done this since the convention back in July of 24. Where we're going to be at the Patriot Awards with all the Fox folks, a bunch of special guests, having a lot of fun. Will Kane's going to be with us on an awful lot of it. We're going to be having a ton of fun. You got to tune into this thing. Like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program. You're going to have fun. Trust me.
You're
We're
gonna
going to have
enjoy this
fun
one.
no matter what, but particularly, I mean, they're going to throw Smug on a red carpet. Somewhere I always thought he needed to be.
And also, I love that they say, because it's true, it's the only award show that matters.
Yeah.
It's the only one that matters.
Yeah.
Because this isn't about, you're not going to have some asshole like Robert De Niro get up there and be like, Trump is a Nazi.
Yeah,
We're going to be honoring people who serve, first responders, people who make this country great and deserve to be recognized.
It's the Oscars, but for people who care about America.
Yeah.
Perfectly
Like,
said.
it's just actual America
Yeah.
part of it that's important to us. So we're going to be there tomorrow, noon Eastern. You got to tune into all
Today,
of that.
noon Eastern.
Today, as this is
Yeah.
going out. Yeah.
Yeah, so noon Eastern.
Yeah.
Noon Eastern.
you said tomorrow.
Like and subscribe. Noon Eastern. Today. Make sure you do that, because I'm an idiot. Mamdani's got me thinking so much. I don't know what I'm doing. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to break down the rest of the elections right after this.
A nation isn't just built.
It's powered
by people like us.
Last year, Chevron increased U.S. production by nearly 20% to help keep energy reliable. And since 2022, we've spent $44 billion with local suppliers, supporting good jobs across all 50 states. But we're not done yet. Now we're investing $9 billion in American energy projects to help build the future, right here at home.
We put in the work.
Because America depends on it.
Learn more about the hands at work powering America.
All right, welcome back. Just remember, tomorrow, well, that's today.
Yeah, today.
Today.
No, it's today that you need to tune in.
Go to the
noon
YouTubes.
Eastern, like and subscribe and watch the live show. It's going to be great. But here's a little context of what we experienced on Tuesday. That you recall, we said all along here on the Ruthless Variety program, it is a almost impossibility for Democrats out of power to lose two blue states. Two states that Donald Trump had never won in Virginia and New Jersey. To somehow lose that would have been cataclysmic for Democrats. They had a huge advantage. Part of that is just the nature of what off-year elections look like for a party out of power versus in power. I mean, we saw in 2021, Joe Biden, Democrats sweep in, Glenn Youngkin's the new governor of Virginia. I mean, it almost always works that way, right? The last time Republicans had success in Virginia and New Jersey, 2009, after a historically huge Barack Obama victory and historically huge majorities in the House and the Senate. Like, it's always a kind of a reactive force. So that's part of it that Republicans needed to try to figure out how to overcome. The other piece of this, which, you know, look, if you're being honest about it, Republicans have not been great in the last 10 years if Donald J. Trump's name is not on the ballot. Just haven't been. Every midterm has been a struggle. Now, Senate Republicans overcame that in 2018, held a majority. But other than that, you lost the House in 2018. 2020, we all know what happened. 2022, historic underperformance based on where the metrics are for where you should be. Now, I thought House Republicans in that particular election did a terrific job of holding on to a point where they could get majorities. But again, these are all just sort of around the margins type things.
Well,
so,
and just for context for a lot of our new listeners and viewers who haven't heard this sermon from us, right? But it is important context, is that there's a demographic thing here in that we traded out moderate, suburban, high-propensity midterm voters in the Republican coalition for a more working-class rural coalition that has a lower propensity to turn out for things like midterms or special elections or off-year elections. And that's been part of the Trump coalition. And God bless it, it got him home on Election Day in 2024, but it's hard to mobilize those people when his name's not on the ballot.
yeah, I mean, with the exception of the 2006 election, as I got started in politics and many of you guys, Republicans outperformed in midterms relative to where they were in presidentials by a historic number. And it's because they're most susceptible voter. The voter that was going to show up no matter what in a midterm or off year, about 76% turnout rate was the core voter in the Republican Party. That got traded out, as you suggested, Duncan, for a rural working class voter that has less susceptibility, in this case 57% likely to show up in off-year and midterm elections. What happens is it looks great during a presidential year because it's kind of a one-to-one trade. In off years, this has happened each and every year. It is not some anomaly. You know, I mean, you can make all the arguments in the world about candidates and campaigns. That is important, no question about it. And we saw Virginia, a pretty good example of how a better candidate and better campaign did not win on the AG's race because the top of the ticket and how they underperformed relative to the Democratic side. But those fundamentals don't change. The fact of the matter is, you're having a whole bunch of people turn out on the Democratic side in these off-year and midterm elections, something that Republicans need to look to next November, that you can't match with a 57% turnout rate of this new base of Trump voters. So it raises a bunch of questions about what it is that you're trying to do and if you want Republican majorities, some things probably need to change on all of that. Right? Yeah. Fellas, what are your reactions to it?
No, listen, I think you're exactly right. But I don't think you can discount the energy on the Dem side right now. And especially in the state of Virginia, I think it applies to New Jersey too. Democrats knew that the shutdown was energizing their base, and that's why they kept it going. If you look at the number of votes that Winsome Sears got in the state of Virginia on Tuesday night, it was actually more votes than Ralph Northam got in 2017. Ralph Northam, the Democrat who won in 2017. And so what I think that means is that Democrats are energized. And what our takeaway from that should be, we have to figure out how to get Republicans energized without Trump on the ballot.
Yeah, can I just, let me break this down for a minute, because we spend an awful lot of time in campaigns and elections. And one of the things when you are out of power that you need in order to win is to ensure that you don't have a malaise amongst your core demographic. And the best way, like congressional leaders and party leaders think of when you get towards a fall election, you got to pick partisan fights. You need to energize even the controversial stuff, but stuff that your core demo is on board with. In this case, Democrats are the party of government. They're party of big government. Even if you don't work for the federal government, just federal government is a core constituency of the Democratic Party. In this case, they had a malaise going on. I mean, they got their asses kicked in 2024 by all the polling metrics, and you look up everything up to basically Labor Day or mid-September. Democrats were like, yeah, we hate Trump, but I don't know. We're not that excited about anything. And the ballot separations weren't where they needed them to be. They shut the government down. All of a sudden, there's a partisan fight. There's a national discussion that pits Republicans versus Democrats. They have something to be energized about. They have something to show up. And of course, when that hits home, meaning your actual paycheck in Northern Virginia for a whole bunch of government workers, it does provide a lot of motivation. Now, we'd heard from Hugh Hewitt and some of the friends who were like, yeah, federal government workers sort of get this. They understand government better than most, and so they understand who's doing it. They don't. They're also higher propensity to be Democrats in and of themselves. Why? Because government is a constituency of the Democratic Party. They're more than willing to give them the benefit of the doubt on all of those things. They just need a reason. They didn't have a reason in 2021, which is why Glenn Youngkin sailed to victory. This gave them the reason. You flagged this very, very early, Ashbrook.
Yeah, weeks ago, right here on the Ruthless Variety program, we told you that Democrats were using the shutdown specifically for their election in Virginia and New Jersey and everywhere else. And I think we've been proven right.
Along those lines, I want to say that there has been kind of, in terms of tactics, a shift that Democrats have taken during the age of Trump, where protests, riots, this kind of the shutdown was essentially just like a over a month long No Kings protest, right?
National division.
This is their GOTV.
Yep.
Their GOTV now is protests, riots, this stuff. Because all these No Kings protests that we went through, all the funding on this show, all of it is like, hey, you go out there and then there's all these people with QR codes of, have you registered to vote? Here, here's where you early vote. I can show up and I can take your ballot. I'll take it for you. You don't have to worry about it. It's all easy. It's all done here. All of this, the reason that all this left-wing dark money is put towards these things is because this is their GOTV operation.
That's exactly right. What you see on television is a lunatic holding a sign or dressed like a chicken. What you do not see on television are the people with the QR codes and the clipboards who are signing people up to vote and collecting those votes at the same time.
Yeah, it's true. I also just think that's a larger discussion about the now historic trouble that Republicans have had with this new coalition when Trump's not on the ballot. It has to be discussed. It just simply has to be discussed. And I don't know if it's issue selection, but I do know this. Donald Trump is a one of one. He's a one of one. He's the only guy who can get out there and talk about the things that he talks about and set an agenda in the way that he wants to set the agenda, where people who even disagree with him are like, he's funny. He's engaging. He gets it. He understands people like me. One of one. There is nobody else in the Republican Party. That's all due respect to a lot of really solid communicators in the Republican Party that can carry the issue matrix that Donald Trump does into an election and execute it in a way that makes those middle-of-the-road, center-left, center-right voters either comfortable or enthusiastic about voting for them.
So I talked to a very smart person who I trust their judgment on campaigns issues very much. So they've had tremendous record of success. I got to chat with them this morning. And then over the past day, I saw Posobiec online. He was like, we should really work on engaging with the Maha people ahead of elections. You got to get them involved. You got to do outreach to them. And I didn't understand really how that's done. What's the purpose? What's the thinking behind that? What's the outcome that you're looking to have? And then this intelligent individual, I'll call him a professor. He's just like a genius on this stuff. He was like, so here's the thing is, last night we saw in every one of these elections, Democrats are basically just running up the scoreboard on women, regardless of age, especially young women, women in the 30s. They're running up the scoreboard on that. He was like, what you saw last year with Trump is when he brought Maha in as part of this coalition is we peeled off a huge number.
And mitigated that a little. Yeah.
Huge. If you make that an issue, especially for on the state level, especially next year if you're running for Congress and you're able to affect change to help people's health and give people more autonomy with their health, especially when we're in an environment where everyone's talking about how government health care and these exchanges have proven to be a complete disaster. If you come with a message and bring in those coalition of Maha voters, you start making a huge difference.
Okay, so I don't disagree with you, but I guess I open up the question of, because I think that's very interesting. But doesn't it also highlight the inherent disadvantage when you are in power of like, how do I bumper sticker this thing, right? Like for the Democrats, it's no kings, it's shutdown, it's that. And that's simple. That is easy,
very easy
to run in opposition to the thing that is happening. But like, do we have to just do a better job actually communicating what that bumper sticker is?
And I think it's not just communicating.
You know what I mean?
But I think you should 100% as part of your platform, a key part of it is address those issues. Because listen, we've already seen RFK Jr. has made moves. You're seeing dyes being removed out of kids' food. Like that video he had was the most compelling video I think I've seen on YouTube, talking about like Europe has outlawed all these things. Why are they allowed to be fed to children here in America? If you give these people concrete examples of what you will do, how you will be an advocate for them to make sure that their kids' food is safe and that our food supply is not essentially just highly processed poison, and you show that you care, that's how you do it. You got to show them that you care, and you got to have something to address their concerns,
Listen,
or else they'll stay home.
It's an astute point. There's no question in my mind that was a key demo in the 2024 election that was summarily abandoned in this particular campaign. I think the other challenge is that you have a record to defend at this point as well, right? So what you're talking about, no question, that is an open field for candidates to run in and discuss the past. It also opens up the failures of COVID policy and a whole bunch of things that you can rope in that your suburban mom was like, yeah, that sucks. Let's not do that again. But you also have things like, national announcements about fucking Tylenol, where, it says on the bottle, don't give it to kids. And like all of a sudden we're like, hey, that causes autism. Like ask your average suburban mom about that question. They're not going to be in love with it. Like they think that's crazy stuff. Like they're dealing with an element of crazy over the last 7 months when they're saying like, hey, I cured autism. It turns out it's Tylenol. And of course, all of that is bumper stickered and not true and not the basis of the Maha movement. But there are components that have come out as a part of the Maha agenda that your average suburban mom has been served Instagram ads on for the last 7 months. They're like, look at this. What do you think about that? I mean, it's not good. Let me just tell you, it's not good. They don't feel like I want RFK in my doctor's office. They don't feel the same way that they did in November about an awful lot of that. The larger argument that you're making, I believe, is 100% true. But when you're in power, you have to defend everything. And so if you open that Pandora's box, all of a sudden you get a whole bunch of cross references, places where you're uncomfortable, and it envelops a problem that ultimately you're leaning on either people who've already made up their mind, suburban wine moms, or somehow these low propensity voters who have never once since 2016 showed up in a midterm or an off-year election. Never once. Never once. They just don't. And that's how you get these huge demo shifts in the election results. And like, you got to look at that stuff. As a political practitioner, you look at it and you're like, I don't know, man. Like, there's not much about this agenda that I disagree with. It's great conservative stuff. Is there anyone else other than Donald Trump who can actually win with it? It's a good question.
It's a good question. And I also don't want to like overread the tea leaves on this stuff.
Totally.
Like, you see big demographic shifts, not just with women, but then also Hispanics, right? And is that signal or is that noise? Is it that low propensity Hispanic voters don't show up for this off-year election? Or do we read into that like maybe we have to do a better job on messaging to those people on economic issues or whatever? Like, I don't know the answer to that.
Well, you get incomplete data.
We really don't know yet.
You get
right?
incomplete data, and even when you get full exits and you get full polling and all of that, it is not definitive about that question. But that question is a really important one, right? Democrats will maintain that ICE raids, in particular, have offended not only the Hispanic communities because they are dealing with all of that, but then the suburban moms and everybody else who have, their favorite waitress just got sent to El Salvador. Like, they maintain that that is a critical issue. Or it could be what you just said, which is the people who were in the Hispanic community who are diehard MAGA also have a 57% turnout rate, and they didn't show. Mm-hmm. It could be one of the two. You don't know.
And we're talking about two blue states. New Jersey, 850,000 more Democrats than Republicans. Virginia, like 1.3 million more Democrats than Republicans.
Yeah, right.
And the feds turned out in droves in Arlington, Prince William, Fairfax. They turned out in droves. So you can't discount that. You can't discount the underlying atmosphere that always happens in a midterm when the other party is in power in the White House. It always happens. It always happens. If you look down ballot at some of these House of Delegates races in Virginia, the races where Republicans, there was like a Trump 5 to 10 point plus advantage district, those guys held on. The races where it was like a 0 to 5 Trump advantage district, those were a little bit more suspect, which is consistent with a typical midterm environment where the party in power struggles. And so you have to win these races by the ones on individual issues, on the strength of the candidate. Candidates matter. Dude, I mean, we've preached this until the day is long. Like, we have preached this, candidates matter. Trump is a great, great candidate. And to your point, can anybody else beat Trump? Nobody else can beat Trump. You have to be your own person. You have to have a message that is consistent with the strength of the message that Trump is putting out there, but is also unique and authentic to yourself. Democrats aren't going to be authentic. So a good candidate can beat a bad candidate every single time in the right district.
Yeah.
I think that's right. Although I will have one caveat to all of this. I don't think Jack Ciattarelli was a bad candidate.
No.
I think Mickey Sherrill is Democrats got in Virginia and New Jersey the most milquetoast Wonder Bread wine mom of all time to lead their ticket to historic victory.
Right, but it's a blue state.
That's key in the sense of seeing all these like national Democrats being like, it's clear now the future is Mamdani. And like, you look at New Jersey and Virginia and they're like, we tried to run essentially a moderate.
Right.
Yeah, you've got a moderate in Virginia who's like, if this AG guy wants to kill children in their sleep, I'm okay with it because I just want to win.
Yeah, well, but I guess the point it's less about like what their strategic choices were, and I don't think that they're particularly moderate. I think they'll do whatever the hell
they'll govern as
their
the left,
party
but like
wants to do.
Their image is not like Zohran Mamdani of like, I've got a Molotov, who's got a match.
Yeah, no, totally right. But I guess my point is, can we stop talking about New Jersey? Like, I understand so much of the media complex is focused on like these media epicenters of like what's happening in New York, and fuck Mamdani and fuck New York. Like, I don't care. But also it applies to New Jersey. Every single time we have this like national discussion, well, the Republican is making moves in New Jersey. Oh, well, okay, just look at what happened, right? I mean, you got Jack Ciattarelli, who's not a bad guy, not a bad candidate, pretty experienced campaigner, didn't make any real errors. He's running against a piece of Wonder Bread who's soaked in Chardonnay, and like he loses by fucking 15 points.
Well, okay.
Like, we're done with this.
It's like pretending to be surprised that a Republican wins in Idaho.
Yeah. It's like, oh,
they had a chance.
Oh, I can't believe it.
Well, I think it's instructive in one way here. And Holmes, you often say this and said this in 2024 during the Republican primary. It's like nobody became president surfing somebody else's wave.
Right.
And I think, people looked at what Donald Trump did in New Jersey and the margin that got much smaller in 2024 and thought Republicans are ascendant in the state, and maybe that tells us something about this race. But it really tells us the one thing, the main thing, the thing we keep saying, which is that this is Trump. He is one of one.
Yep.
And I think it should be instructive for anybody who thinks they're going to be president in 2028 that, like, you got to do your own thing.
You just throw your arm around MAGA and pretend you can lead it, you're going to get your ass kicked.
Right? Yeah.
You're
100%.
You're going to get your ass kicked in a primary. And if you ever got to a general, it would be a blowout, like a 300 electoral vote blowout. You can't. There is one guy who can lead that whole thing. You need uniqueness. And certainly in all of the structural disadvantages of an off-year election, you got to be something extremely unique. We saw that with Bob McDonnell and Chris Christie in 2009, who had these structural advantages, still running in those same states, but were very, very different than anything that you saw in the Republican Party and the narrative about the Republican Party. I just think that this thing is like, look, I don't want to overread tea leaves, but those lessons are things that people need to think about.
You know what I like most about our show is, and this is important, listener and viewer, listen closely, is in the aftermath of an election day, you're going to hear from a lot of people on YouTube or on your podcast with a definitive answer, like the one thing. This is the reason the thing happened, and I'm going to tell you everything about why this thing is the problem or the solution. And as political practitioners, people who've did this our entire career, we don't do that.
No.
Because we actually don't know yet. And we need to learn more, and we need to look at everything. And anybody who's telling you that right now is actually kind of lying to you.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We respect our audience enough to be like, we're not going to be like one of these talking heads who's like, I'll say anything to get 3 minutes of airtime.
Right. And that's just not fair to you, and it's not honest with you, and we respect you a lot. And so, like, this isn't the end of the conversation. This is obviously a conversation we're going to have over the next year, right?
Yeah, ongoing.
Because we're heading to midterms. That's the story.
Yeah.
So, but we'd also open it up to you. When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program, we give you the opportunity to comment on our question of the day. Today's is, what lesson for Republicans ahead of the midterms did you learn on Tuesday? We've given you a fair amount of things to think about, but we're very interested in you because there's a lot of local races and things that we're having. We mentioned Georgia, Pennsylvania, a lot of your states and localities. Minneapolis mayor, they didn't elect the Somali pirate. By
That's a shame.
They didn't elect.
Minneapolis deserves it.
Smug says it's a shame.
They were gonna. I wanted the Vikings to be named the Pirates, dude. Almost there. We'll get there.
We'll get there. So our question of the day: what's the lesson that you think everybody needs to learn before the midterms? Because Lord knows there are lessons to be applied and products to be improved. We are going to be at the Patriot Awards today.
Yes.
At noon. Again, while you're liking and subscribing,
go to the YouTubes.
Noon Eastern. You need to be a part of that. When we come back, we're about to tell you about the Z-biotic thing, but later in the show, we got 2 great interviews for you. A.G. Hilgers of Nebraska, very important foreign money in domestic election update. He's making news on stuff.
Yeah, because we had previously talked to Caitlin Sutherland about this.
Exactly.
And now things are actually moving and happening, and it's great.
And there's so much news about the foreign flow into the Mamdani aligned groups in Manhattan. And I know that Mamdani's not everything, but it's very, very interesting to see where the foreign money's coming in.
Very interesting. And then one of our old favorites, Tom Emmer, from the great state of Minnesota, I might add.
Yeah.
He's got a lot to say. Mm-hmm. He's making news on things, but he's also like, I mean, if you want to hear people get absolutely dragged.
He doesn't mix his words.
It's entirely unfiltered.
He's got some thoughts.
Yeah.
So we're about to get to that later on in the show. But first, Z-Biotics. Fellas, we are going to the Patriot Awards, and by the time you're listening to all of this, we're probably maybe even already arrived. But before we do, we take our Z-Biotics. It's a pre-alcohol drink. And it has been a lifesaver for the Ruthless Variety program. And many of you who have been texting me about this particular product, I think it's like, designed by PhDs?
It is. Designed by PhD scientists, and everybody thinks that like when you had a big night and you don't feel so good the next day, it's just dehydration. I didn't drink enough water before bed. No, not true. Is that when your body breaks down that alcohol, it turns into a toxic byproduct, but Z-Biotics knocks that right out. And it's very important, especially when the Ruthless Variety program goes on the road.
When we're on the road, that's what we do.
Mm-hmm.
That's what we do.
It is. We pack it in our suitcases. We take it with us. In fact, when we are in New York and we are mobilizing the moderate Italians on the ground against Mamdani, we're going to hand out some Z-Biotics.
I'm sure Z-Biotics appreciates that. So go to zbiotics.com/ruthless to learn more and get 15% off your first order when you use Ruthless at the checkout. That's Z-Biotics. It's backed by a 100% money-back guarantee, so if you're unsatisfied for any reason at all, and you won't be, they'll refund their money. No question asked. Remember, you got to go to zbiotics.com/ruthless and use the code Ruthless at the checkout to get 15% off.
And Wolf, could you pack some extra Z-Biotics for the road? I want to give them to Will Kane. He's probably
needs
drinking his sorrows after I smoked him in fantasy football. I'm going to give him some of these.
Very good point.
Yep.
An artful point.
That's how you be a friend. Because it works.
Yeah, it's thoughtful. So our question of the day from Tuesday was, will the Democrats' cynical election strategy work? Somewhat prophetic. You provided your answers. To do that, we always start with a voice.
First one comes from Brent Schaffner. And Brent writes, yes, unfortunately, this strategy will likely work. Let's be honest. The Republicans have lost every election since 2016 without Trump on the ballot. DJT is done being on the ballot, so we better get something figured out quickly.
Jeez, sounds like he was a part of our first
Yeah, exactly.
That's good. All right, comment 2, Dunks Runks.
This is from Lord of the Dreadwood.
Outstanding.
They write, it wouldn't work in a fair environment, but the media is carrying so much water for them right now that it could work. They have the media going full on to propagandize in their favor.
Yeah. I mean, we saw that in the opening with Van Jones being like, who could have thought this guy's a radical?
Yeah, geez, wow. I mean, there was no signs.
Amazing.
Comment 3, Smug.
Comment 3 is from Java Blanca. They write, work. If by work you mean turn out the burn America down crowd, it will work. I do hope they still lose, though. And again, our audience nails it. This is riots and protests are the GOTV for the Democrat Party now. It's pretty clear to me.
Yeah.
So it's true.
Yeah, but that's the thing. Bumper stickers work.
Yeah.
As cynical as it is, bumper stickers work. What's our bumper sticker? We got to figure that out next year.
Rewind the tape. 2022, abortion.
Mm-hmm.
2020, George Floyd. It really is the modern day turnout mechanism that Democrats use to amp up enthusiasm for these elections. Mm-hmm. Keep an eye on all of that. You don't want to miss this interview that we've got coming up, by the way. This is Tom Emmer. You're going to love every minute of it. He gets Tim Walz.
That's amazing.
Oh, he's got a lot to say about Tim Walz. It turns out he didn't like him. We're going to play game 2 later in the show, right after this.
Only 58% of Americans today say they're proud to be American. the lowest number ever recorded. That's not just sad, it is very dangerous, because if we forget what makes America special, we risk losing it. That's why Americans for Prosperity is launching the One Small Step campaign, a bold nationwide initiative to reconnect Americans with our founding principles that sparked unparalleled innovation and prosperity. It's not just a celebration, it's a call to action. Through the 250,000 Steps for Freedom Challenge, AFP is partnering with the grassroots in all 50 states to take meaningful steps that defend freedom and advance opportunity. Call your representative, attend a local event, knock on a door, talk to your neighbors. Every single step counts, and every step moves us closer to a more perfect union. Go to takeonesmallstep.com to learn more, then join the challenge at afpvolunteer.com.
Well, we always have a lot of fun with this guy, and it is a perverse incentive for a guy like me to give my co-hosts a little bit of a Minnesota education with the majority whip, Tom Emmer. How are you, sir?
I'm doing great.
Listen, we were talking just before the show, before we get into the serious stuff. Yeah, it's the hockey season ramping up, and you obviously have played a big role in a whole bunch of different levels of hockey, as one does in Minnesota. You were telling me a little bit about the referees, the way you're handling all of these things. What's happening these days?
These days, I mean, it's first, when it comes to hockey, you know, we come from a state where this is like a religion almost.
Yes.
And I have to explain to my colleagues from Louisiana in particular that you guys don't seem to understand. There is only one sport that has actually been delivered to us straight from God above, and that is the sport of hockey. And they'll start to complain, you know, it's football, this. I don't have any problem with football, but remember, ice only exists in heaven. It can't exist in hell. So we are the only ones.
So there it is.
We are the chosen ones.
Logical deduction.
It really is.
It really is.
You got to think a little bit.
You got to think a little bit. Well, that's what
or
you're
as
doing
we
the
say
best.
where we come from, you got to tink a little bit.
Oh, well, there's a lot of tinking going on in Congress these days, or maybe not so much.
Tinkling, maybe not tinking.
Yeah, government shutdown. It's still going on. Listen, you all did your job. It's so long ago, I barely even remember it. I mean, you guys gave the Senate several weeks of preparation to try to figure out how to keep the government open, get benefits to people, do all the basics of government. And then somewhere along the line, Chuck Schumer figured out that he could maybe wedge some electoral advantage, particularly in Virginia, if he creates a partisan fight, disassociates federal workers, creates problems for people. It's good for them. And so we've spent a month arguing about nothing in particular. I mean, a CR that they refused to pass that, you know, basically was authored initially by Democrats, which they refused to pass. And now you found yourself in a situation the day after Election Day where they're like, oh, let's talk.
Yeah, I think they're full of you-know-what. First off, you're right. We passed a clean CR on September 19th, well in advance of the midnight on September 30th funding deadline. And it's the same CR that Chuck and company voted for last March. More importantly, it's the same one they voted for 13 times under Joe Biden, which is why I make the argument Chuck Schumer wrote the damn CR, all right?
Right.
Why did he do it? Well, it's very clear why he did it. I think you're giving him too much credit by suggesting that he actually has the intellectual capability of saying, oh, this is an electoral strategy. No, you're a moron. It is not. This is a scared old man. This is an aging athlete past his prime who is desperately afraid of losing his leadership position before he announces he is not running in another election. That's what you're dealing with. And
there's news.
And here we go. Now, yes, they couldn't open it before yesterday because if they did, the violent, virulent, pro-terrorist wing of their party, remember, 50% of Democrats polled in one poll didn't have a problem with Donald Trump being assassinated.
Yeah.
A third of their party now supports terrorists, Hamas, right? This is real. So they could not open the government because they would become the object of their anger, right? So they keep it open through yesterday, and you just know it's coming where they're going to say, we won. What? You won in Virginia. Oh, we kind of expected that Abigail Spanberger was going to win. By the way, Abigail Spanberger, very good at campaigning, is someone that she is not. She is literally Tim Walz in a dress, okay? Get ready. She is just as whacked as that guy, and she lies about everything because you're going to find out in Virginia. The sad part of Virginia is, and they're celebrating this, the Attorney General, who called for the murder of his opponent and his family in texts, you actually voted for him? Yeah. That's sick. And then New Jersey, they win New Jersey. Okay, big deal. All right, why don't we look at the island? Because people don't do this. Let's talk about congressional races. You realize there are two districts. The third district that used to be represented by a fabulist and is now represented by a Tom Sawazi character. And there's a fourth district that was represented by Anthony D'Esposito, a good friend who fought a really good fight last time, but it was way too close. And the Democrats got both of those seats. Do you know that the county executive in Nassau County, which has 75% of the 4th district, I believe it is, and 100% of the 3rd district, it was an 11-point increase between the last election and this one. Those are two, and these Democrats and the left-wing media want to tell us, ooh, this is a big bellwether. Okay, good. It's a bellwether. We're going to win.
Yeah. I mean, from a House perspective, you're entirely right. I mean, look, I don't think any Republican anywhere in the country likes to see a Republican lose anywhere, but the idea that somehow off-year elections with a party out of power in very blue states, two states that Donald Trump's never won, is somehow a bellwether, is crazy, except when you dig into the numbers as it affects your particular house.
Yeah, and except it's not crazy, I guess, if you write for the New York Times and the Washington Post.
Well, that's his problem. Yeah, he's the guy that talks. He's the only one that talks to all those people.
It is. And I just want to ask you.
Is there a special language?
There is. Super secret language. And it's
usually a chill chablis.
You need a decoder ring.
Brings it out.
It all comes out as bullshit. One way or the other. But I do want to ask you, because you mentioned the shutdown, and I got to think that in the negotiations, if Democrats ever decide to come back to the table, there's going to be a new date set for extending the current funding in the federal government. Right now, under the current CR that the Democrats have rejected 13 times in the Senate, even though they supported it 13 times in the past, it was set for November the 21st. I'm guessing that date is probably going to change.
Yes. Rather than do it twice in a week.
Yeah. Well, right now it is the date. And unless the Senate does something with the CR that we sent over, it will be the date. At some point, I'm sure our speaker will sit back and say, all right, you've exhausted, you've run the clock out, which, if we think about it, they should be ending it immediately. I mean, first, it's been needless, but after your last night, you got your off-ramp, do it, and then get back to the negotiating table. But if they don't, what's the next big inflection point? It's probably Thanksgiving, the busiest travel day of the year.
Right.
Right? So November 21st, at some point, the speaker has to say, all right, we got to do another clean CR. This is what it's going to go to, whatever. We're not there yet.
Yeah.
We're at a place where the Senate has the ball. We still have time on the clock, even though they burned the first 5 weeks of it, right?
Yeah.
So while there's time on the clock, do something with it. The thing that's really interesting is Chuck Schumer, who you can probably tell I'm not a fan of.
Well, it turns out not in his fan club.
Yeah, he's
didn't
done.
found it.
He's done. It's over. Chuck, it's over. Just give it up. He didn't have a way out. He has a way out now. So you would expect him to take that way out now and then move on. I don't know that he can. And until you run out of time, the House has done its job.
Yeah.
There's not. Oh, that's what I was going to tell you. Is Chucky, I'm sure, was trying to show them polling. Oh, look, we're winning the shutdown. Well, you know what? Up till last week, the vast majority of Americans didn't notice and hadn't been impacted.
Yeah.
It started literally last week. I mean, we can talk about the 65,500 small businesses across the country that contract with the federal government that the chamber says lost like $12 billion in the first month of the shutdown. But that's not 300 million people, right? When you start shutting down the airspace, when you have major flight delays, when you got 42 million low-income Americans that depend on a certain benefit to survive, people are going to notice. And by the way, when they notice, this is my belief. I don't have any proof of it. We'll see as the time goes on. But when it starts to impact them, then they get serious, and they will figure out very quickly who is causing this. And it's not the Republicans.
Yeah. So I got another question for you that's shutdown related. Chuck Schumer, who you've talked about last year, voted for the governor of Minnesota, Tim Walz, to be vice president of the United States. And there has been a lot of reporting about the SNAP program that Tim Walz is running with federal funds in the state of Minnesota and a $77 million fraud that took place. And I'm wondering, I'm sure you know all about this. I'm wondering what sort of steps in leadership position in the federal government can take to investigate and get to the bottom of how this happened and how to stop it from happening again.
It's a great question. So obviously I am a Minnesotan and I love my state. Tim Walz is a very corrupt, fraudulent human being. There seems to be a theme in how I'm
don't
treating these
sugarcoat
guys.
it.
No, I'm not. Listen, he's lied about everything. He's lied about his military career. He lied about something as dumb as when he was at Tiananmen Square and got caught on national TV telling the lie. But here's the bigger thing to your question. Do you realize that according to the U.S. Attorney's Office in Minnesota, the fraud that has occurred under the Walz administration, so this is not just SNAP. SNAP is $77 million last year. They overpaid it. And we better find out why. $2 billion is the estimate in fraud. I mean, they are shutting down the daycare program, the housing program. If you read anything about Minnesota, the Feeding Our Future scandal was the largest, $250 million. It was the largest pandemic scam in the country. This is all under this guy's watch. The guy was a gym teacher. I don't care what he tells you. He's never run anything in his life. To put him in charge of the state of Minnesota, he hasn't run that. Instead, when the RNC was going on last summer or a year ago, he was protesting outside the RNC, right? Pam Bondi, God bless her, she has gone into Minnesota. She is starting to look under the hood. It's not just our U.S. Attorney's Office that has done phenomenal work, even under a Biden-appointed U.S. attorney. And now under a Trump-appointed U.S. attorney, they are continuing to look into this stuff. But Pam Bondi has gone in asking for voting records, for instance. We want all of you. And by the way, the federal government's entitled to that because you have a presidential race, you have congressional races, you have Senate races. So even though it's a state-based system, the federal government is entitled to have those records. You know, Minnesota has refused to provide them. I wonder why. Do you think there's any fraud in Minneapolis? Do you think there's any fraud in St. Paul? I don't know.
I read about a local hearing where they basically concluded that you could get a driver's license without any citizenship whatsoever, and that same driver's license can be used to not only register to vote but actually cast a ballot. And they looked at everybody in the government in Minnesota who was arguing the other side of this, and they were basically like, yeah.
No, that's the law, Josh. 2 years ago, they passed a law that illegals can have driver's licenses in Minnesota.
And they were celebrating it.
Well, and by the way, anecdotally, you know how many, as a member of Congress, people who see things call you. You know how it's anecdotal. Our U.S. attorney and others, our U.S. Justice Department need to investigate this stuff. But literally, people have been telling me that when you went in to apply for your driver's license as an illegal, nobody asks you whether you're legal or not. They also give you a voter registration card. Minnesota's got other problems, though. It's, I might have been in a race back about a decade ago that was decided by 8,100 ballots. Everybody remembers Norm Coleman's. In mine, there were stacks of ballots in Hennepin County, which is Minneapolis, that literally had one person's name checked. and it wasn't mine. So you ask the question, what can we do? Keep encouraging the U.S. Department of Justice to investigate, whether it's the handling of the Minnesota Housing Development Program, whether it's the program that delivered all these daycare funds to different immigrant communities who literally were bilking the Minnesota taxpayers out of all this money. You got to have a tandem approach. The other problem we have, we got one of the most worthless, it calls itself a newspaper. It's basically a blog now. It's called the Minneapolis Tribune. They report nothing. Nothing.
No,
I mean,
it's laughable.
You guys, the week after Tim Walz embarrassed himself on national TV telling a lie, 2 headlines in that fish wrap the following week. The first one was...
Wait, is this the paper your friends call the Red Star?
Yeah.
I don't even give it that credit anymore. I mean, it really is something that there'd probably be a better use, and it'd probably be toilet paper. But the first headline was Governor Walz vows to own his misstatements. They're lies.
Oh, yes.
The next one, 2 days later, America's sweetheart goes on Kimmel.
God, it's just so good.
You do not have investigative reporting on all the fraud. You don't have investigative reporting on the voter stuff. Nothing. They just look the other way.
It's no wonder how it happens.
Is there a role of congressional oversight for the House as we get beyond the government shutdown to look Minnesota? We can all talk till we're blue in the face about everything that Tim Walz has done. I got to imagine that California and a whole bunch of other blue states have similar problems. Is there a role for the House to provide some investigatory action on this, you think?
Absolutely. I mean, Jim Jordan already had a hearing.
Yeah.
He had a hearing where he called in Governor Hochul.
J.B.
Pritzker.
Yeah, there's another winner. The old fat man.
Yeah.
He's ready for winter.
Yeah.
I don't know why
Chicago's tough, man.
I don't know why the word buffet came to my mind. And then they called in Governor Walz, and that was the hearing where the question was, why have you created sanctuary states?
Yeah.
Because Tim Walz has put illegals and criminals ahead of all Minnesotans. Again, the worthless media doesn't report any of it, but it's actual fact. Yeah. So yes, I mean, Jim Jordan does have a oversight responsibility. Jamie Comer has an oversight responsibility. Their counterparts on the Senate side have an oversight responsibility. This is something that needs to happen, and it's long overdue.
We got to tell a story. It's long overdue. Can we talk sports for a little bit?
Yeah, let's do it.
I mean, first of all,
I don't know if I know anything about
How about JJ last Sunday against the
I got to
Lions?
tell you.
Okay, come on.
Josh, we got a winner.
We
got a winner.
Guy figures it out, right?
We got a winner. I love that they tried to criticize at the end with, well, some throws were really good and some were a little off. He kind of slid back into... Yeah, he won, baby.
Yeah, he won.
He won.
He won.
And he finds a way to win.
That's the only thing we ask.
Now we just got to see if he can stay healthy.
Yeah, no kidding.
It's our year.
It's just happening.
Feels like it again.
It's happening, fellas.
Kind of feels like it's my Colts year, but it's okay. We can just talk Ohio, Minnesota all the time.
It'd be a great Super Bowl matchup. Vikings, Colts.
Can you imagine that?
No, I can't. I can't.
We can go.
It would be a
We'd bring the boys.
We would.
We'd argue.
Can you give me a little insight? Give these guys a little insight. It's hockey season. People are starting to do it. When you grow up in Minnesota, like everybody's involved. Even if you don't play, you're involved in hockey season at some level.
Yeah.
Like what's happening with the ranks across the state? Give us a story or two.
It's unfortunately this job has taken me away from that. I spent the better part of my childhood, all of my childhood, my college years, and then when I started raising a family. Actually, I started coaching before I started raising a family. And
it's a real coach too, by the way, not like Tim Walz.
Oh yeah,
he actually did coach it.
Yeah, and I don't need to pay actors to come in and stand up for me, or whoever those relatives. Oh yeah, the relatives don't like him either. So relatives.
They're in Omaha and they
I'm
hate
starting
him.
to think you don't like this guy.
Actually, I don't. I can work. I can work with anybody. No, I'm going to make it very clear. Because that's not Minnesota nice.
No, there it is. I was wondering where you were going to get that in.
Well,
there.
here's the reality is this. I don't care who you are. I don't care what your political views are. I can work with anyone and find a way to work with them until you lie.
Yeah.
The second you start lying to me, we're done.
Yeah.
Yep.
And no, I don't like him. He lies like the devil. And people need to hold him accountable. And he thinks that they're just going to look the other way. And unfortunately, Minnesotans have been doing that for far too long. Perhaps this will be it. You know, it's funny. He's running for governor again.
I know.
You
Third
realize?
term.
Well, you realize because he did the little victory tour. Oh, that's right, he lost, but he went to like Illinois and South Carolina. He's going to be the next voice, and it fell. I mean, it was about as exciting as a fart in church. It went nowhere. Yeah. Matter of fact, it was more like my friend John Kako would have said with the SH instead of the.
Yeah. Well, you're being polite because you're here on the Ruthless Variety.
That's right. And I'm from Minnesota, and it doesn't sound like it. But the look, at the end of the day, the guy has lied through his teeth to Minnesotans.
Yeah.
And I don't like that. And I'm just not going to be the Minnesotan that says, oh, gosh, golly gee whiz, great to see you, and then walk down the sidewalk and go, God, I hate that son of a bitch. I'll just tell him.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I like it.
Last thing, repackaging everything that you guys have going on. Hopefully Democrats come to their senses. They reopen the government. A lot of national media is going to misconstrue everything that happened on Tuesday as some sort of harbinger of things to come. I think you've done a good job of recognizing immediately how it affects the House in terms of the results that came back in New York in particular. But as you look out here over the next year, you like your chances. This is going to be a tough fight. Obviously, any party in power, tough fight in the first midterm to try to get over the hump and retain a majority. But where do you think things stand, and do we have a good shot at retaining the House?
So I will talk about the mechanics, which I think are really good, versus where we might be in June, July, August, going into September. But before I do, the one caveat is redistricting.
Yeah.
Right?
A lot of that going on.
Very unfortunate in California last night. They're going to do something in Virginia. It's one of those things where when that's all over, if you look across the map, it still looks more favorable for Republicans than it does for Democrats. But we have to acknowledge today that until we see the final maps, and by the way, the Voting Rights Act, which is long past its validity. I mean, you can't just favor one race over all the other races. I think our Supreme Court ultimately will do the right thing, but we'll see. If they do it by the end of the year, that might have an impact on next year. If they don't, that's probably for future races. But now, the mechanics. As you know, in the last 4 House elections, we only won a net seats in 2 of them. And we were running the NRCC when we did that.
Yeah, you did a hell of a job.
We held it last time with a net -1, but we held it. So now people look and go, well, you know, that cartoon character, Hakeem Jeffries, he says, he is.
Yeah,
and he's
fair enough.
Done it to himself. Actually, no, the president.
What do you call him? Timu Obama?
Yeah, Timu Barack Obama.
I should spend some time with you guys after I'm all done with this.
You're welcome anytime.
Kind of actually fits my...
Happy hour starts at noon, Emmer.
Yeah, well, for Pete Stauber, apparently it starts at 10 a.m. That, of course, is northern Minnesota.
Yeah, not a big goalie guy.
It comes with the culture.
The difference mechanically is this. 2018, Trump's first midterm, when we lost 40 seats, which, by the way, I think the gross vote total across the country, it was about the difference between being in the majority and being in the minority was about 120,000 gross votes, if I remember right. It was that closely divided. The thing people don't remember is we were defending 21 of our members who were in seats that Hillary Clinton had won in 2016. Completely different map this time.
Yeah, maps matter.
Yeah. We've got 3 members in seats that Kamala Harris won. Lawler in the Hudson Valley, New York, Fitzpatrick in Bucks County, PA, and the Omaha, Nebraska seat.
Yep.
Don Bacon,
Yeah, you got to ask yourself, what do those people see in Kamala? Anyway, that's a different one. they have 13 of their members in seats that Donald Trump won.
Yeah.
And Donald Trump did something that no one has ever done in our party, in my opinion. Certainly not during my lifetime. He moved the needle with traditional Democrat voters more than anyone has ever done it. He broke the unholy alliance between Democrats and labor because Democrats left labor long ago. Labor just didn't realize it, at least labor leadership. Now the labor movement is literally moved towards Trump, working men and women in this country, young people. He got more young people to vote for a Republican president, which is a great sign for the future. And by the way, it's a message to these communists and Marxists who literally are going to try and be the type of ruler that they don't have a problem with pandemics where they lock people in their dorm room and they tell them who they can see and when they can see them.
Long history of success for those folks.
But they've created that group.
Yeah.
That is the new group of libertarians. That's the next generation that is coming. And they voted for him. More black voters, more Asian voters, more Hispanic voters, even more liberal Jews, right? There were, I think the president had 77 million, and I think we were around 74, somewhere in there. So I'm either rounding it up or down on either side. So there are a bunch of Trump voters. This is where I disagree with some of my Republican colleagues who say they're coming to the Republican Party. No, they're not. They're Trump voters. But what Donald Trump has done for us is he has made them more comfortable with looking at a Republican candidate. It used to be
he's opened the door.
Democrat good, Republican bad. Now that Donald Trump has done this, that 3 million Trump voting bloc is more apt to look at a Republican who is talking their language, who looks and sounds more like the district they're seeking to represent, and actually is talking about the issues that matter most to them in the language that they understand. I like our prospects based on the mechanics because there's another 20 plus seats on the left that he didn't just move the needle on these 13. Those seats are 5 points or less. And, you know, a swing seat in the House is defined as something that can move 5 points either way every 2 years. Well, now we've got a whole bunch, depending on a charismatic candidate, a local issue. You could have other. I mean, I just gave you one. On the island, New York 4. It shouldn't be in play. But after last night, what?
Why wouldn't
Trump
it be?
not on the ballot and it popped up 11 points from the last time? It could be in play if you had the right candidate. So I like where we're at mechanically. We just won't know until next summer. You know, the working families tax cut that we call it now, or the big beautiful bill that we were calling it, that permanent tax policy, according to the economic experts, of which I am not, these guys tell me that it's going to take a full 2 years for the full impact of that to hit Main Street. But they're very confident that it will be hitting by spring and it will be gaining momentum as we go through the summer. If that's accurate, this is where it's at. People make the decision
really
on emotion
midterms.
and how they feel about where their life is at and where the future is.
No, listen, he's the absolute best. Thank you so much for coming by here. Welcome anytime. Next time we should do this thing around 5 o'clock.
Yeah.
You know, figure out how to have a cocktail or two, and you're going to get full Minnesota at that point.
Yeah,
You only got a little bit.
Maybe I'll take the gloves off.
Tom Emmer, everybody.
I mean, what a personality on that guy. He didn't spare a single person in politics. And I mean, we got to have him back on again. I love the Minnesota thing.
Yeah.
It's very, very funny to hear a couple of Minnesotans going back and forth in their native
It's like
tone.
my boys.
Also, like poor Pete Stauber getting the drive-by.
Complete stray.
You know what I also love about Emmer is he somehow suggested this was the filtered version of him.
Oh, yeah,
That
yeah.
we could somehow get a more unfiltered version at happy hour.
Yeah, next time I'm coming back at happy hour. So that was like just a 30%.
He's the man.
He is the man. I'm glad he came on. He's welcome anytime. Good Minnesotan. Fellas, I think it's time to play a game.
Yes.
It is Thursday.
It's Thursday, which means the signature game of the Ruthless Variety program. And might I mention also, for the OGs, the original listeners of the Variety program, this is going to feel very OG because I am judge.
Oh, yeah.
The original.
Yeah.
When we started playing this game, I was always judge.
Yes.
Because of my genius.
Yep.
Obviously.
Yep.
And our champion is Smug with David Frum.
That's right.
Holmes, who are you bringing in as challenger?
Cheri,
You
my
always do this.
Cheri.
You always do this. It's your cheat code.
Well, I mean, look, It's hard to ignore the content that she provides.
I know. But do you feel bad about it?
I'm a challenger. I want to topple the king. Come on with it.
No kings.
No kings.
Let's go ringside.
Ladies and gentlemen, your attention, please. It's time for King of the Hill. In the red corner, fighting from her own Twitter account, Kami Cheri Jacobus. And now, in the blue corner, fighting from a blinking cursor and an empty page, and current champion of the world, David, where did you come from?
That's excellent.
That is so
excellent
good.
intro. Best in the business.
I also love the blinking cursor thing.
Yes.
I mean, it's poetry.
It's
Writer's
poetry.
block.
It's
really
poetry.
good. That's good, dude.
It is.
So as champion, I start, and I'm going to start with exhibit number 6 because remember, folks, David Frum used to be a conservative. So when you see this exhibit number 6, he has a quote from the New York Times, and he puts a screenshot that says, Mr. Obama spoke admiringly about how Mr. Mamdani has run his campaign, making light of his own political missteps. And Frum took that screenshot and said, missteps?
That's what he
He's
took
saying
away.
Obama never had any missteps.
He's not. His takeaway isn't that Barack Obama is endorsing an actual socialist. He's like missteps.
He's like, Obama's perfect. What are you talking about?
He'd be like, Barack Obama, I will defend you harder than you defend yourself.
Oh, God. I have so many different ways to play this, all of which I think are winners. So I'm just trying to figure out where the best place to start. I think I'm going to save nuclear weaponry and just simply start with what I find to be a completely unbelievable Exhibit 15. Exhibit 15 from Cheri says, Trump's a pirate. His, quote, Nigeria is killing Christians claim is so he can steal natural resources.
Oh, my goodness.
Now, this, of course, she is tweeting out a YouTube link.
Hell yeah. Hell yeah.
Where
I normally would. If
Our
I were-
own YouTube link.
You should play it anew because that was kind of weak.
No.
I better for Cheri.
Hey,
But it'll be up to the judge.
bailiff, are you going to take action in this court?
I'd like to have a more strict court if that's okay.
It sounded like a tactical nuke to me.
I mean, so obviously everybody knows what's going on here. It's been a time-tested problem. Nigeria is killing Christians. There's just no doubt about that. Cheri didn't care about this at all, right up until Trump uttered the words, Nigeria is killing Christians, at which point it denies the existence of all of that and suggests that somehow this whole thing has nothing to do with a genocide, but everything to do with stealing Nigeria's natural I mean, I don't even know if they have any. But,
They're oil rich.
are they?
They are.
Wow.
Which makes it all the worse that they're out there killing Christians. It's like you have something that you could be doing instead of murdering Christians. But
Yeah.
Appreciate the amicus.
It's what Islamic radicals do. It's just way funnier to have a former Republican talking about how Obama didn't make missteps. That's just honestly, it's just funnier for that reason. Smug wins round 1.
awesome.
Okay.
Wonderful judge, by the way. Really good judge.
Well, we're about to turn all that right around. So this is just disgusting, and frankly, I didn't want to play it because I'm so horrified by it and disgusted by it that I just didn't think it had any place in the variety program.
Oh, my God.
You forced my hand.
I love this run-up.
In Exhibit 11, she is quote tweeting a post
Oh, my God.
Oh, my God.
about the widow of Charlie Kirk, where she says, Widow Kirk is merely being an old-fashioned Christian widow wearing the traditional black pleather disco pants and KMDC FM stiletto pumps for a year. Now, in that, I'll provide a little bit of context where she's provided pictures and AI that basically in subsequent posts which I'm not playing here in the Variety program, but just to provide this
I
court
saw
some
them.
context.
I saw them. The judge is aware.
These are the sickest people.
Suggested an affair by a vice president and the widow of Charlie Kirk. This is, from my perspective, about as basement as you can get. It's about as vacant and hollow and disgusting a thing as you can see on the internet, and I'm talking about the internet.
Yeah.
It's a pretty low bar.
It's a dark place.
But I'm not sure it can get worse than that.
Wow. What you got, Smug?
I mean, there's nothing more disgusting, so this is a throwaway. Exhibit 1.
You just admit
I mean, like, what? Yesterday afternoon, Trump threatened to launch a military attack on the most populous country in sub-Saharan Africa. The fact that few expressed much upset at this bluster is a marker of how little respect this blowhard president commands at home abroad. Trump has had, I've lost count how many peace deals. Are we over a dozen at this point so far this year? But, I mean.
Yeah, Holmes wins.
Yeah. I mean, my God.
I mean, like, how do you compete with that? Also, awesome, dude. I just love that Jay Jones won that election in Virginia, and that my neighbors want me murdered.
Yeah.
And that, our political opponents on the internet think that Erica Kirk, who's like suffering probably the worst nightmare you could have in your life, and
They've got young babies.
Yeah, and you're gonna do like these people are so fucking sick.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, you understand why I didn't want to introduce this. It's like a very depressing.
Yeah, you've ruined my day.
I know.
I mean, we're having a great time, and now
he gave you the victory.
Now I feel horrible.
So I got to pull you all down underneath the table.
Terrible thing to do.
Okay. I know he lost the round, but what is it with these former Republicans who like carpet bombed the entire Middle East and they're like, oh, I'm sorry, you're not allowed to talk tough to a Nigerian warlord? Wait, like that's where the line is drawn?
Dude, it's because they were never.
What is that about?
They were never conservatives. They just wanted power. And
Yeah.
so when they were like,
you're right.
we get to do what we want, they're happy.
Yeah.
But
I
now
feel
that
like
people
I
are like,
need to
you
write-
have bad ideas, they're mad about it.
Yeah.
I want to. I think we need to write a book or something on it. We got a lot of book ideas, but like how these people became what they are is interesting.
Yep.
It has never been about ideology. It is about what you suggested, power. And once they presume to not have an inside track on all of that, they're willing to mortgage every single one of their ideological
Maybe
positions.
if Trump would have simply tweeted, we want to fight the Nigerians over there, so we don't have to fight them over here. Maybe that's where Frum would be like, okay, I get it.
like,
I
get
mean,
that
if you really
vernacular.
want to go down a rabbit hole on a lot of these neoconservatives, I mean, these were liberal Democrats.
Yeah.
Right? Like, and if you followed at all what Bill Kristol was tweeting as Mamdani was
Yeah,
doing
oh, yeah.
this whole thing, and he's talking about how much he loves Eugene Debs, like, understand who these people are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like, they are conservatives by convenience at a moment. They
Yeah.
are not conservatives by conviction
No.
at all.
And that's why we play the game King of the Hill.
Yeah.
It's all about them. I'm going to finish this thing off, fellas.
Wait, you don't have to go
No, he
first.
can't. He's welcome to.
Well, if the bailiff isn't
No,
going to
I'm-
enforce order in
No,
the court,
the-
you don't have to go first.
No, I just want to finish this thing
He
off.
wants to.
Wow.
Go ahead.
No, you said you're going to read it? Or?
No, a champion goes first. I'm going to respect the court's rules.
Judge, you should let the guy do it.
Go ahead, champ.
For a long time listeners, I used to get liquored up and just like go whenever I wanted. I was like sober Holmes is here trying to pull an old school smug. I'll start with exhibit number 7 from Frum, please. David Frum. The Democrats who favor Mamdani are unafraid and outspoken. The Democrats who oppose him are abashed and fearful. Try it this way. I will work with the person chosen by the voters. But as a party, we Democrats believe in free enterprise and support the state of Israel. Bro, Kamala Harris was scared to say that because of the Michigan problem.
Yeah.
You're out here trying to lecture somebody?
Yeah. Quite astute. Exhibit 12, what Cheri Jacobus is doing is quote tweeting a post, Truth Social post by Donald Trump where he talks about how the nuclear arsenal is going to be updated under his watch. It hasn't been in many, many decades, and so he's going to deal with all of that. Her surmising what the true intention of that update is as follows. He's rebuilding a bunker under the demolished East Wing of the White House for a good reason, and it ain't good. Suggesting, not even suggesting or inferring, as outright stating, he's going to nuke his own country. And he's going to be safe underneath his new East Wing. That is, in my estimation, about as hilarious as it gets.
Oh, gosh.
This is such a good game.
This is such a great game.
Nuking his own country.
I don't like rewarding the lunacy of Cheri, my Cheri. You know I find her so offensive.
Yeah.
But I gotta give her the round.
Got it, dude.
I'm sorry, Smug. We have a new champion.
It was a well-played game.
Yep.
Outstanding work, team.
It was.
You saved your nukes.
I did.
Smart.
Literally. You waited for it.
I did. I saved them. All right, we got to get to a good interview here. This is the Nebraska Attorney General, Mike Hilgers. One of the more intriguing political figures that not everybody's talking about nationally, but certainly makes a huge difference nationally, not to mention his great state of Nebraska, is the Attorney General, Mike Hilgers. How are you, sir?
I'm doing well. How are you guys doing?
We are terrific. We're terrific. Listen, we could spend 45 minutes talking about all the things that you and your office are up to. We've admired a whole bunch of the work that you've done on a range of issues. But the one thing that we're focused on here is foreign funding. And I know that you've taken a great interest in foreign funding of elections. And we couldn't help but notice there was a Fox News story.
Yeah.
In this regard.
I saw this.
That was, it's a Fox News exclusive. It's called the Mamdani Machine, which is how a $2.5 million network backed by Soros and Islamist activists helped engineer the rise of socialist candidate Zohran Mamdani. So it got us to thinking, what's going on with the foreign funding in American elections? Like, that's a one piece of black letter law I thought we all agreed on. Turns out you got some perspective on this.
Yeah, well, first, I actually think we do agree on it, but we've got some bad actors outside the country who are either trying to exploit or just, in Nebraska's case, directly violating our law. We have a bipartisan law in the state of Nebraska that says foreign actors, foreign nationals cannot fund ballot initiatives directly or indirectly. And we've got a guy in Switzerland, a foreign billionaire by the name of Hans-Georg Wyss.
We've covered him a lot.
You have.
We are familiar.
Leaders on this.
Yeah.
You know, people want to talk about George Soros, but Wyss is not a U.S. citizen. So he's driving hundreds of millions of dollars into elections in the United States. And in particular, by the way, through a web of dark money organizations, it's very difficult to track, in particular in state ballot initiatives. So in Nebraska, I have no idea what the New York City race costs. I'm sure it's tens of millions of dollars. But in Nebraska, $1 million or $2 million, you can actually change the Constitution. You can change major state policy issues. And so last cycle, the guys, they spent almost $10 million in the state of Nebraska trying to radically impose their radical left-wing views in the state. And we sued them today because that's not lawful under state law.
Okay, so you, who did you sue?
We sued 7 different dark money groups. Oh, actually 6 different plus him himself. So we sued Mr. Wyss. We sued all of the major intermediaries that we could identify through which this money flowed. It's not Swiss billionaire. You don't pull up the local accountability disclosure. You're like, oh, Swiss billionaire gave you $5 million. That's the check. And in fact, he brags about that. He actually says, like, you'll never see my name. So we had to trace it. Took a long time. We traced the money. So we sued the intermediary national funds through which his dollars are flowing.
So who are those funds? Is it like Arabella Advisors and this whole web of people? Is it the Open Society Foundation? Like who are these intermediaries that are executing?
That's a good question. It wasn't Arabella specifically.
Okay.
Although I think there's probably some adjacencies, to say the least.
Yeah, I mean, that's how we first got on to Hans-Georg.
Yeah. Well, when you're talking about billions, it's really just sand off the beach,
Right. Yeah. Right.
In Nebraska, that's a Boulder, though,
Yeah, right.
The new venture fund,
okay.
1630, Burger Action, names that you probably heard.
Yes.
Many of these you probably heard already, especially since you've been focused on this particular topic.
Yeah, and we had Caitlin Sutherland last week that talked about a lot of this stuff. But it's interesting. Look, you're doing the job that I think all of us want an AG to focus on, which is if it impacts my community, let's hold these guys accountable. Make them show up at court. Make them try to defend what it is that they're doing.
100%. Look, I'm proud of my team. There's a lot of investigative work to uncover the various entities and the flow of cash. But this is what people want. This is what they're worried about. Influence of our election. When people talk about election integrity, there's a lot of things, voter fraud, swamping our communities with non-citizens who are then voting in our elections because Biden gave them a Social Security number when they cross the border. But it's also people outside of our country who are using their enormous amounts of wealth. I mean, the Wyss kid has so much money compared to what Nebraska is, what our ability to fight these things, but they're using their sources of wealth to be able to change the constitution of the state of Nebraska. That's wild, incredibly worrisome, and that's exactly what the AG should be doing, is fight back on this.
So I'm curious, and thank you for leading this fight. I think it's critical. In talking to other AGs, and we talked about this ahead of the 2024 election, as these foreign funded ballot initiatives in places like, I think Arizona was one of them. Have you talked to other AGs about getting on the same page on this stuff, and if there's anything these other AGs are doing, could you speak to that?
Sure. So we work with our sister AGs, sister states, all the time. We share information all the time. The information in our suit's going to go to them. Certainly, I would say most cases there's a multi-state element. This was really a Nebraska state-specific issue. One worrisome thing is that only maybe 10 or 12 states, guys, have actually passed the specific law. So just to give you a little bit of legal background, everyone thought that foreign funding of local elections was not lawful under federal law for a long time. And then in 2021, the FEC issued a ruling that said, well, actually it doesn't apply.
It's up to states.
Yeah,
that's right. And so some states, and Nebraska is one of them, but not, and actually California is another one. About 10, 12 states by our count have actually passed laws, including Kansas, including Ohio. And in those states, you've started to see some backing off of foreign funding. And so what I've tried to tell my fellow AGs is, you get the law in the books, work with your legislature, because if you don't have one of these state laws, and most states don't, you actually don't have really the tools to stop this foreign funding to come into your states.
Can I ask you kind of a technical question? Because I worked in Senate leadership at the federal level, 15 years ago, where Barack Obama wanted to deny any sort of dissenting opinion whatsoever, right? They tried to do a Disclose Act that dealt with nonprofits, that tried to out people throughout the country, which, by the way, he also had a backstop with the IRS that was following up on his demand to make sure that people couldn't speak if you happen to be a conservative.
Yeah, thank you, Lois Lerner.
Lois Lerner and everything else. But it gets tricky territory when we're starting to deal with the world of 501c4s. And I think most of the foreign money that we're talking about here flows in through these political nonprofits, right? Where the rule, generally speaking, is that they spend 50% plus one.
The primary purpose test.
On some kind of a issue advocacy test. Mm-hmm. And that issue is of issue in elections. And so that's what they do. And then 49, they can transfer money out. As you're looking at what the ultimate reforms might be as it affects Nebraska and presumably everywhere else, like, what do you hope to have happen here? Because I struggle with it. The foreign money thing, to me, it's a no-brainer. Let's just get it out. No problem at all. You're dealing with nonprofits that have become political, and it's a little bit trickier about adopting sort of a liberal point of view, which is just like, now they all have to be disclosed, or just prohibiting the foreign funding of these things. Like, what's your view?
So from a policy perspective, I think I'm a big defender of anonymous speech.
Yeah.
Especially in this day and age. I mean, you said Lois Lerner. I mean, it's been a move on the left for a long time. Go back to Prop 8 in California, the gay marriage law, where the Mozilla CFO, if I'm remembering my facts right, lost his job because he contributed $1,000 to the petition. And so these things can be used against people. I think people need to be able to speak freely, especially in this political environment, and not have the retribution of having everything disclosed. So what I would say first is we want to enforce the law that's already on the books, which is no foreign funding.
Yeah.
My guess is, my hope is, I should say, maybe not my guess, but what we've seen in Kansas and Ohio is that this foreign funding will sort of recede from Nebraska. In light of the lawsuit, hopefully in light of whatever injunction we achieve in front of the court. That might be enough. I mean, I think there's one of the questions we got at the press conference is, is there some more information that you could use, a certification or something where nonprofits are essentially making it a little easier for regulators like me to be able to say, understand whether or not you've got a foreign funding source. Maybe there's something there, but we start getting into the disclosure world, I start to get pretty nervous because that is a hammer that has historically been used against voices like ours, quite honestly.
Yeah, in recent years, totally the case. I mean, that's why I appreciate your point of view on this. Is it's not a blunt force hammer where it's like anything, that a partisan advantage, and Democrats at this point have taken advantage of that. But you look back at like Alabama versus NAACP,
100%,
right? Where you're dealing with really nefarious stuff, and there's a reason that the law is the law, but it still doesn't change this new generation of Democrat, of which, according to Fox News Digital, somebody like Zohran Mamdani is benefiting from, to have foreign influence in a very meaningful way in very big elections.
Yeah, I think it's, as we kind of talk this through, I think the thing that would be helpful would be, from my perspective, is some mechanism, and I can't tell you exactly what that would look like, but some mechanism that would make it a little bit more streamlined for my ability to regulate. What they've done here is not so much, it's, as I told you a second ago, it wasn't as if he just wrote the check. He funneled this through a number of entities that are not all Nebraska based. They're all over the country. It goes to this one, then to this one, then.
Well, that tells you everything you need to know. Right? Yeah. I mean, I understand you have to prove these things in a court of law, but if you're funneling things through 100 different LLCs and C4s and lo and behold, it shows up in an election, like the intent seems pretty clear.
And an effort to conceal.
It's an effort to conceal.
Yeah.
And especially, I'll tell you what, where the money is flowing, and we haven't done a comprehensive survey on this, but they're coming to small states, and they're coming to small red states. So you're going to Kansas, they're going to Nebraska. Guys, I have 6 lawyers in my consumer protection group on a good day. Soaking wet. I've got 7 attorneys who are fighting these types of battles, and they can swamp regulators just by making it overly complex. I mean, a lot of states don't have the resources, the ability to sort of do the detective work that we did in a case like this, which by the way, back to your original question, part of the reason we want to make sure all this is public and everyone understands, sees our homework so that they can replicate it in their own states. But it's a unlawful bet, but it's a bet that they're making. And if we can even the odds a little bit through some maybe policy tweaks on the disclosure side, not necessarily for the donors, but to make it a little easier to track the flow, that's something I think that would be worth considering.
Yeah. Well, big news on those lawsuits, no question about it. Thank you for doing it here on the Ruthless Variety program. I got to tell you, we've appreciated your leadership on a whole range of issues, electric vehicles and nonsense that the left has been trying to do environmentally and through the energy space. This is one of the good guys that you're going to have to watch nationwide because he's thoughtful. He thinks about these things. It's not just a partisan reaction. He thinks about the long-term ramifications. Thank you so much for everything you do. And when you're in D.C., come join us.
I appreciate it, guys. Thanks so much. Thanks for all that you do. Really appreciate it. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
Thanks, Mike.
What a great dude.
Yeah, I mean, listen, he is amongst many young Republicans cast throughout this country, very thoughtful and interested in getting results for their constituents. They take a problem, they see a problem, they see it affect their constituency, and rather than just do a talk radio program, he actually investigated. Now he's got news to be made on lawsuits and litigation that they are undergoing in Nebraska.
Well, I appreciate people who break news on the Ruthless Variety program.
Yeah.
I also appreciate Republicans who, instead of looking at a situation and talking about how terrible it is, actually do something about it.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
Yep.
And if we're going to put points on the board, we need people like this who actually do the hard work.
Yeah.
And that's just fantastic.
Yeah, it's a great guy. I can't wait to hear a lot more about him and that issue going forward. So thanks to Attorney General Hilgers for showing up on that. Remember, today at noon
Eastern,
we're going to be live streaming from the Patriot Awards, where Smug gets to do a red carpet walk.
Yeah.
I feel like we've all waited for this our entire lives.
I've done a few in my time, but you guys can join me on this one.
I didn't know you were such a big deal.
Yeah.
You red carpet all the time, dude.
It's more fun with my friends.
Oh, it's interesting. Okay. Well, I didn't know we had such a star on our hands. Appreciate all of that. When you like and subscribe to the Ruthless Variety program, we ask you a question of the day. And that question is from this week. What's the lesson Republicans need to learn about Tuesday's election results that may affect the midterms? Your ideas are always the best. And we always get back to you in the very next episode with a sorting out of your answers and some of the things that we think best represents you. Appreciate you all joining us. Look forward to seeing you all live today.
He did it again.
It's Wolf's fault.
It is Wolf's fault.
He's about to say, play us out.
It's Wolf's fault.
What does that mean?
Play us out. Does that mean end the show? Little homage to O'Reilly there.
The legend.
A cut from Sting out of this.
So good. Fellas, I think we did it.
I think so. Absolute banger of an episode. Gentlemen, thank you so much, Congressman Emmer, and thank you so much, AG Hilgers. We always appreciate our guests, and we appreciate you, listeners. Remember, if you have not yet, go to the YouTube, hit the subscribe, turn on the notification, catch our live stream today. So until next time, minions, keep the faith, hold the line, and know the libs. We'll see you Tuesday. Stay ruthless.